you're going to have to slap me silly and call me Dusty Wildchild, because today is an episode for the ages, the arc ages. And I'm just going to lay it on thick. Coach Flick Money's in the house. The Chopper is in the house. The trifecta is here, episode 77. Let's start with you, Chop. How's your beard? How's your mind?
I mean, I feel like your hair says it all. Like if anyone that's watching, like as good as Coach Ballgame's hair looks right now, that's kind of what's in store for
Sure.
today.
Yeah, there's a photo shoot later today where I put on my white Dan John Italian pants here on the YouTube, and I got my best shirt and a little product, a little Dapper Dan in the hair. There's a photo shoot going on, and I want to look good. I want to smell good. I want to feel good. But I'm still pretty jealous of that beard of yours. Flick Money, how are you feeling up there on, if you're watching on the YouTube, what looks to be Saturn, possibly Pluto, brother?
Not Uranus.
No.
I cannot be doing better out here, Coach. I feel like a crisp, nicely pressed pair of white pants. That's exactly how I feel.
By the way, Dan John is the company that have not made the move across the Atlantic yet. But if you go to Italy, jump into Dan John. It is wow. It's like climbing into a warm bath with Jim Nantz narrating your pants. That's what it is, folks.
Question: Is Dan John the top 2 first name designer in the clothing game? Secondary question: if we have time, can we get into some of the top 2 first name names in the history of baseball? That's just a little rabbit hole we could run down.
I love that idea.
I can double down on that and say right away out of the gates, I just hung out with him and he's going to be on the pod in a couple weeks. Let's start with Jay Bruce.
Jay Bruce.
The Cincinnati Bomber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Any top of the mind first name gamers?
Tommy John, he's had to play it, right? I mean, it's
sure. Oh yeah.
Oh, he played.
Come on.
He played. He had the first Tommy John. Yeah.
Yeah, Tommy John was the top of my mind too.
Frank Thomas. Frank Thomas.
Sneaky.
Oh, yeah.
Sneaky. How about Fernando Valenzuela?
Valenzuela.
Close. Could be. Guys, let's fill the listener in. We are fresh off of a solid hang in Austin, Texas. But I had 5 straight nights of beautiful sandlots in Texas. No rain to speak of. We were able to get everything in outdoors. It started in Beaumont with our friend Jay Bruce and my boots on the ground, Charlie Hamburger, who owns about 19 hamburger shops in Beaumont, Texas, if you're looking for a good burger. Beaumont kicked it off right. Jay Bruce is so passionate about youth, and he's got 2 young sons, and he sees the problem that we've seen and the reason we started this podcast to make youth coaching better. And to have a guy that's hit 319 pumps in the show be that passionate about youth sports and parenting and coaching, he is a gem, dude. He's a gem. We called him Coach Airplane because he's learning how to fly a plane right now. Pretty cool. But He's going to be on the pod. Then down to Houston. Thank you, Coach Mustache. My boots on the ground down there in Houston. Had some kids come 2-3 hours to get there. That's always a reminder for me, man, this thing's important. We got to keep doing this Sandlot thing, keep reaching farther. And then we push pause here in Austin because I had about 100 kids and I had to fly in the 2 best coaches I know, Chad Chop from Tucson, Arizona, and Sean Flikke from Seattle, Washington. And we got in there. And let's start with you, Chopperooski. Takeaways from good old-fashioned Austin, Texas.
First and foremost, like what an amazing community. I mean, just like the love from the parents. We had 19 volunteer parents out there helping us. The kids were great. The facilities were awesome. You could tell there was a high level of care, which takes us back to when we were kids. And I feel like that's kind of the lost art of today. It was amazing. And then obviously you put the three of us there with, the intentionality of making sure it's fun and they're learning and they know they matter. And it was pretty special. I also love the coaches clinic after. I don't want to take up all the time. I want y'all to share too. So I'm going to pass the conch over to Flick Money, Lord of the Flies reference. Bang.
Bang.
Oof. I mean, sucks to my ass, Mark Piggy. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. It's a literary reference. I mean, the highlight, can I just simply say joy?
Yeah,
you can.
Just overflowing levels of joy from the bittiest bit player, the little guys, on up through watching grown men, adults sort of reconnect to that part of themselves. I think at our best, adults, we are a technology for young people when we're doing, and that was a great use of our adult technology of getting lots of pitches out of the hand, getting the young ones in and out of the dugout, giving them motivation, inspiration, lots of high fives and hugs and love. I can't remember getting hugged that many times by students or young people that I didn't previously have a relationship with. Just bombed with hugs. So just, yeah, it was a joy buffet. It was like going to the Golden Corral, and every single thing that you brought your plate to along the buffet line was more joy.
Joy Buffet. That's the name of this episode. Also, possibly a great two first name. I'm not sure. Buffet.
Joy Buffet.
First cousin of Joey Buttafuoco is Joy Buffet.
Joy Buffet.
Yeah, uncle of Joey Bag of Donuts. Yeah, let's segue with the hugs. Well, my boots on the ground there, Michael Galvez, who's a patron, a Patreon, a supporter of this pod. He worked so hard to get 100 kids to come. It's hard. That's the third highest number we've had all year out of 65 Sandlots, and the other two were sponsored. He really saw the value in this, and so he got the word out big time. And the amount of kids that ran right up to him when they arrived at the camp and hugged him was different for me. So that just tells me immediately the culture he's building there. And he hasn't been coaching very long, but he looks through a beautiful lens of the amount of joy we can spread with these kids. That's the closer we get to heaven. He really thinks of heaven as that joy spreader, that joy buffet within the kids. And it goes into the parents and it goes into the coaches. The 19 volunteer coaches, you had so many great nicknames out there. I can recall Coach Dirt, rocking and rolling. He was doing some staring contests with other coaches. And I think the most joy buffet I see out of a kid's face is when two coaches do a staring contest or an attaboy challenge. So we brought the coaches together for that. And again, the kids just absolutely loved it. But it spread like wildfire, that joy throughout. And I really loved how it was basically like three head coaches, three coach ball games, if you will, on each field, with me running the 5 and 6s. Flikke had the brunt of it with like 47 and 8-year-olds, because that is our bread and butter, minus a megaphone, which pull out the notepad, coaches, write some notes down. We got to get you boys a megaphone on the road. And then Chopper with the older ones. I'll start with my little guys, just talk the mechanics of kind of how I ran my camp. But we basically had 3 separate camps going. And then we'd bring them together every hour or so, and I'd tell a story. And but as far as my 5 and 6s, it's the first city I've been to where the 5s use hard balls, like normally, like they're using the real balls. I was like, wait, they don't use like soft baseballs or tennis balls. To be honest with you, they were pretty studly. Like the first thing we did was with our cones, partner throw and catch. And I put the softer baseballs out there just because I wanted to make sure they were learning how to catch the right way, which is the high five method of catching. But the fives and the sixes, they're doing it a wee bit different down in Texas, and I do notice the game of catch is a little more advanced, even to that lower level. So I'm taking notes on the Texas breed. But we played the game of catch. We worked ground balls all one-on-one because movement is king. Motion is king when it comes to youth. You don't want any standing around. So we rocked the skills, and then we got right into 3 separate groups of games. And I know that was kind of how we ran it across the board with your 2 fields as well. But I think what stood out for me was just this bravery and toughness of these little 5 and 6-year-olds. And then all the things, all the salutes, all the catchphrases, all the songs, they were brand new to that group. And there was lots and lots of smiling going on. So that was 5 and 6. How about that geyser of joy in the 7 and 8 field, Flick money? How did it go?
Yeah, well, big numbers, and the bigger the numbers, the more I have to, as a coach, sort of let go of some of the results of how I want things to look, and be
Good
in the
point.
moment. Be in the moment with trusting that we're teaching the right things. They're learning by doing. They're also learning by watching the kids next to them. And when you have 40 some kids on the field, I can't literally get to every single person. So it's a good exercise in trusting the volunteer coaches. They're going to get in there and help, trusting the eyes of the young ones and just their learning processes. So that was really beneficial. So what I focused on was really throwing specifically. Went through the sort of series of throwing drills that kind of isolate different parts of the body, so that when you put them all together, they get an integrated, store up energy, release the energy through the hand, hope the ball starts coming out a little bit. Because I knew we were headed straight to games. And so I knew they were going to get a ton of ground balls. I knew they were going to get a ton of swings by the way that Sandlot games go. So I was really focused on let's see if we can get this catch playing to be as high level as possible. And they loved it. We did little mini competitions within it for fun, and they were super into it. And as much joy as you can produce in a bunch of throwing drills, we were there. We got
Bang.
there.
And
yeah.
I mean, just having you 2 there, it really diversified the teaching, because I can't teach a 12-year-old the same thing I'm teaching a 5-year-old as far as backspin or front side, arm action, all that good stuff. So being able to diversify that, and you guys are such pros at teaching the mechanics of the game. It's how it needs to go in 2024. For all my boots out there that are listening, if we can get upwards of 60 to 100 kids, we're going to bring these horses on the road with us for as many as they can, as much as their significant others and their families allow them to travel, because it was just such a way better product. Just being able to split the kids up by ages, which we always do for the Sandlot games, but even to do it in the throwing and catch. Chopper, I'm interested with your 9 and olders. How did it go, brother?
Numbers were really good for me. It was kind of the sweet spot at like 24, 25. It was pretty perfect. So we got them into some partner catch play. I like to break down kind of what they do with their lower half, their upper half, making sure they have a strong front side that can instantly help with accuracy as well as velocity. Just ensuring they all have a 4-seam grip is a powerful tool, just to make sure they all know that. Don't assume they know it. And we were keeping track. Once we got rolling, after we did, we start with our lower half square, turning, making sure our nose and our elbow are lined up to our target, giving space with that front side, and then trying to meet that front side towards home plate, not just letting your glove flail. No flailing. It's a no flail zone. But no, it was awesome. And then we go into a rock and fire where they've already strided and they're rocking back, finishing over their front knee. And then they just kind of slowly work it back, making sure we're moving our feet. We don't want to be flat footed. Then I brought them in for a little flat ground, which was great. So got them that Little League distance, 46 feet, and just working from the stretch. So come set, hit a balance point, separate and go, little dime size target in the glove. So that was awesome as well. And then we went into some partner ground ball work, progression where first 10, they're funneling, next 10, they're replacing their feet, staying athletic. And at that point, the whistle sounded for a story. So we broke in and got ready for our games. But I was really impressed with a lot of the kids. The level was, like I said, pretty impressive. We had one group that didn't miss. They caught 90 in a row.
Bang.
Yeah, which was crazy. That was Chicken King and Curly Fries. So shout out to Chicken King and Curly Fries. They brought the noise. They brought the energy.
Top two nicknames possibly at the Austin Sandlot as well.
Stringinator was there. That was a strong one. Violinist.
To circle it back to my 5 and 6s, they really fed off the competitions that we would do within the partner throw and catch. How many catches can you get in 30 seconds? I'm big, especially on that young age. Can you miss it correctly? I'd rather see you miss it the right way out in front of you, high-fiving the catch, as opposed to, lazy feet, cup of soup. So move those feet, get low, get your chest in front of the ball. So they really fed off the competitions. I'm interested, and maybe I'll start with Chopper on this. I told the Clemente story, and then we got right into the Roberto Clemente games, which is basically a tennis ball. Everybody shares one bat, and we start with no gloves because Clemente used a lemon and a stick to play with his brothers and sisters growing up. How did that oldest group respond to not being able to use their own glove, helmet, bat, real ball, that kind of deal?
They loved it. Before I jump into that, I want to touch on how well you tell that story. It's wild, and Flick Money touches on kind of the tools that you use. For those that haven't been to a camp and heard Coach story, Coach Ballgame kind of spin that web, so to speak, when he's telling the story. It's incredible the way you use your voice, the way you get quiet when you need to, rewarding the kids that are listening the right way. And just kind of nudging those that are being a little bit antsy the right way, not focusing on the wrong, but focusing on the right it's fun to watch. So to be able to stand back and just watch you ball game is a highlight for me. I just
very, very sweet of you to say. And I learned it from the master who's right up there on the left.
Master of the universe. Yeah, he's the whole universe.
Master of the universe. Like, honestly, if you don't know, Flikke is my mentor, coaching mentor. He is my Coach Ballgame. Really taught me everything I know. It was the first time I'd ever seen kids get excited about story time. When Flick Money gathered the 50 kids out in right field after they had a big lunch, these kids were so pumped to just lay down, be quiet, and listen to an amazing story by an amazing storyteller. And I recall me coming to you, Flikke, when you guys gave me the baton and had me tell one of the stories, not sure which one. And I was like, hey, how did I do? How can I do better? And he's like, just look at the kids, look at them in their eyes. Make sure you're not just telling a story to yourself, like really feed off them, look at them, respond to how they're listening to you. So that was storytelling class 101 right there for me. But that's sweet of you to say, man. I love words of affirmation. That's my love language.
Love language.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. So after getting to hear that, then we get to, you sent my group off first. So, and right away the energy was strong. I think they were chanting Chopper all the way over to the field, which you don't hate, as a coach, you enjoy that. So that was great. We got over there, we got going. I had 2 fields going at once. And one of the coolest moments was Noah the Tank, who is skills wise up there, could hit the ball country mile, really strong arm, really wanted a Nolan Ryan card. If you don't remember Noah the Tank, Coach Ballgame, I'm sure you do, but he was the one that kept nudging towards you while you were telling the story. And I'm pretty sure I was far away, but he's probably whispering, "Hey, do you have a Nolan Ryan? I need a Nolan Ryan card." He needed that Nolan Ryan card. So,
and
yeah, go ahead.
Love it. I remember him totally. Yeah. And he would not sit down.
Afraid of ants.
Had a bad ant
phobia
deal. Just did not like the ants. So he just stood. But I learned this from Flikke too. Like, he's the one kid not sitting down like he's supposed to be. And there are times when he's getting uncomfortably close to me, and it's almost disruptive. But Flikke, drop the dime you dropped at the coach's clinic about that type of kid. How do you handle that?
It's a request. He's so into it. He's inching towards you. It's a request. It's an expression of love. He's both telling you, I love this. I want to be right up where you are. And it's also a request for love. It's a both. That's a two-edged sword right there. So what I do when I have kids like that are just in meetings, they're excited, they're blurting out. They want to, if they've heard the story before, they want to tell the punchline of the next part ahead of time. That's all that tells me, is that I need to find a way to engage this young person in leadership, because they want in. They are all about it right now. And if I push them away, if I make that an awkward moment, call them out in front of everyone, tell them to go sit down. How many times have I told you? Then I'm risking building a divide between me and that young person when there's an opportunity to build a bridge. And so I just grabbed that kid and I'm like, you're going to be my story captain right now. And every time I point to you, I want you to you're going to tell me what you think the next word or sentence is. I'm going to bring them right in there. In there like swimwear, as my friend Chad Chop likes to say, and see if I can get them engaged in a leadership way. And if it's not in that story, then it might be like, hey, you're going to be my you're going to be my lead head of the line captain when we do the next drill, or I'm just going to have them bring them right next to me. And I learned that as I learned my storytelling chops from the master. I got to pay respects to the great John McCarthy in Washington, D.C., another youth coaching master who he is just in tune, very attuned to the players that are having the hardest time in those group settings, and pulling them right in and making them leaders, making them captains, giving them a sense of belonging, and really acknowledging the request for love. I got you. I'm right here with you. I will not push you away just because your behavior is doing something different than I wish it was.
And that could be tough for me sometimes. I definitely like to be in control, and I when parents and coaches come up to me and say, you can command 100 kids where they're just dialed in, it kind of nudges me a little bit when that one kid is not being commanded like I want them to be. But a great learning experience there. There were definitely moments where I was like, I definitely want to ask this kid to I mean, he is in my back pocket right now. I want him to sit down. But the whispers of Flick Money were in my ear there. So you get over there with Chopper Chance. Chopper.
Noah the Tank comes over. He goes, hey, if I hit this ball really hard, can I get obviously a Nolan Ryan baseball card? And I was like, hey, dude, like, you picked up pretty quickly and we've talked about it. It's great if you hit the ball hard, but like, why do we give away cards? Like, what are we looking for? And he's like, character. I'm like, yeah, kindness, character, be a good teammate, dude. Like, that's what we're focused on. And that was cool. That was a cool moment. Had 2 games going at once. After each inning, I would bring him in really quick, just touch on something that I saw. The first game, it was, we had a runner that didn't touch first base, right? So just making sure we nod the bag, and then he turned towards the infield. So just brought everyone in really quick. Say, hey, just make sure after we touch first, full speed, and then always turn towards the dugout. Why is that important? A couple of them knew the answer, that you can't get an umpire that's going to call you for, hey, he was making an attempt to go to second. So just like a quick little thing, got him right back out there. Then I went over to the other field, which was kind of a field of ballers. Both fields had good players. The other field was the guys with the matching sunglasses that matched the oven mitt. You know what I'm talking about. So these were some kids that were there to make sure the scoreboard was operating, and they were going to know who was going to win this game. And then we had Coach Brian, who was pitching, and Noah the Tank should have just went and talked to Coach Brian, because that was Nolan Ryan reincarnated. Like, he was He was gassing up kids. He was mixing his pitches well, and he was punching tickets. But they were also hitting moonshots. So that game was great as well. Had a cool opportunity for them to talk about backing up a base, where making sure if we're going to back up a base, you want your back against a fence, because if it gets by you, there's no one else there. So you can always come in when you're backing up a base and don't be so close to the action where you can smack your teammate on the rear end if he makes a good play. You want to let it breathe. So it was great.
Bang.
It was great. We had a great spot. Yeah.
Yeah, that those two groups were really fun. Two things there. One, you had the oldest group, the 9, a lot of 10 to 12-year-olds, and when a kid doesn't know how to run through first base, a lot of the other kids that are advanced can be like, "What's wrong with that dude?" So be sensitive to the whole group. If you're a coach, and if anybody is bullying that kid or saying, "What's wrong with you? Why don't you know what to do?" Like, bang, nip that in the bud really quick, because that lens we're looking through is build character and bring everybody together, bring the Benny the Jet Rodriguez with the Smalls, bring everyone on the same playing field. We keep referencing the coaches clinic, which was the highlight of my night, and we'll really get into that in a bit. But Flikke, you talked to the coaches about kind of how much time you should spend on a lecture, or on when you bring the kids into a team meeting, how much you should talk to them, or how long. And I believe you said nothing should last more than 25 seconds before you get right back into the movement. Why is that?
Attention span. And to your point earlier, physical movement is how they're going to learn. So if saying words is a one way to transmit information, but it's not, especially for a lot of boys, it's not our top learning style, is processing words and then turning that into physicality. So I was really speaking to, if you're one coach, you're running a practice, you're playing a game situation, and there's so much to correct. It can be overwhelming, especially if you're with younger kids, right? They're just learning the game. So there's like, on one pitch, there's like 11 things you could stop and try to teach, right? But let them play, let the game teach. And then every 7, 8, 10 minutes, as Chopper was just talking about, you pull them in and you focus on what's the one thing right now that I think this is the most opportune teaching moment for. And I think the team dynamic stuff is kind of the highest level, like Chopper's talking about, backing up bases, base running, things that are universal. And what I don't want to do is bring the team together to call out one kid. So I'm going to use one-on-one opportunities before practice, after practice, private conversations to help a player if he or she has something that they really need to learn. But those, just bring them in. I'm one coach, bring them in every 10 minutes, 10 minutes, one thing, 30 seconds, 20, 30 seconds, boom, right back to the game. And let's get this thing going.
Yep. Movement was king, for sure. Flikke, on your field with the 7 and 8s, as we got into the games, was there any pushback? I know you had a ton of volunteer coaches out there pitching and catching. Was it controlled chaos? Because there were 4 games going on one field, and they were all 5-on-5 kind of games. How'd it go?
Awesome.
Yeah.
When I love the Roberto Clemente games, genius innovation, Coach Ballgame. I've told the Roberto Clemente story. I had never had transported that into an actual game, utilizing the tennis ball, the single bat. I just think that's a brilliant innovation. So I want to give you a shout out. Other thing I want to shout you out for, Coach, is you got there 3 hours early and set up those fields so that when we had 4 games going on my one field, it was dialed in. We were able to visually see where all the players needed to be, where they were supposed to be on defense, because you use those cones. I just want to say thank you, first of all, for your hard work and early prep, and also for coaches out there. It's a way you can transmit love. I know not everyone who's volunteer coaching can necessarily get to the park, and you got to run from work or whatever. And I want to tip my cap to you and say thank you for coaching. But when you have time, the earlier you can get there and get things set up and make it visual for young players about where they need to stand, where the lines are going to be. Here's where we're going to do this drill, using those little flat cones, or whatever you have available to make it visual. I just think it's fantastic. So I just wanted to shout you out, Coach. That made 4 games possible. And it wasn't chaos. In fact, it was just 4 beautiful Roberto Clemente games, tennis balls flying. The games in the outfield where the kids could actually go yard over the big fence.
Some bat flipping going on.
Oh my gosh, this is just excessive levels of joy. And so what I just had to do was make sure we rotated from field to field, so lefties and righties both had equal chances at the home runs fences, and that the kids that were on the big infield got a chance to go out to the outfield. So we did some rotational stuff, but pure joy, nothing but joy.
You're really good at that. Where I would my first intuition would be, well, that's going to be too much work to move players from one field over to the opposite side of the field and play a different game. But you're looking through the lens of how can I exceed this joy and make it even more. So put the what's easy on the back burner, and let's create an even more joyful atmosphere. That you're the king of that joy buffet. Flick Money. On my 5 and 6 field, yeah, much of the same. Just constant, loud, the sound of Sandlot, where it's just jumping, smiling, laughing. And the main reason that I'm giving out cards to the kids cheering the most or smiling the most is because when parents sit in the bleachers and they just consume all of that joy, they're going to parent differently the next game they have. I just know it. They're going to look at the scoreboard less. They're going to micromanage their kid from the bleachers less. They're going to sit back, drink their hot cocoa, and eat their popcorn, and just enjoy watching them play the game. Enjoy watching them fail, because when you think big picture, all those failures are going to really add up to something awesome down the road. And allow those coaches to coach. Another thing that I thought all the volunteer coaches did really well was they would praise loudly, and they would constructively criticize very quietly and in private. I would say that's due to Coach Lightning Strike building that culture. Like, he just wants that culture there in Austin, Texas. So, man, all in all, it was an all-star coaching staff. I think 2 weeks ago, I asked Chopper, what do you think of this coaching staff? He's like, I'm not cocky enough to say it's the best of all time, but I don't think there can be a better one. There cannot be a better one. But hey, the plan is to keep evolving, and in 2024, bring you to as many as we can, as many as you can, because ultimately I see these Sandlots as a traveling coaches and parents clinic. The kids, Little Cheeseburger from Austin, his dad sent me a note. That kid is running around his house all week long, asking his brothers and sisters to do staring contests and giving them eye black salutes and attaboy challenges. The amount that they consume, those young ones, is unbelievable. The amount of love that they consume from these mentors and coaches, they'll never ever forget it. But I really want these parents to get it, because the amount of stories I've gotten where one coach ended a career, or one parent ended the playing days for somebody, and now these guys are grown men telling me these stories. It's our job to nip that in the bud and just create long-lasting careers where the amount of life lessons is double, triple, quadruple what it would be. So I look at a sign: a good coach can change a game, but a great coach is going to change a life. So I thought there were a ton of life-changing coaches there in Austin, Texas. As far as the coaches clinic, let's start with Chopper. What stood out to you? It's been the highlight of my tour. The whole 65 city tour is bringing these volunteer coaches and parents together. Some who travel 3-4 hours just for the coaches clinic. And big ups to you guys that do that. But what stood out for you, Chopper?
I feel like it's us trying to, a couple things, like we try to give them tools of how to use your time wisely, show up early, be prepared, have station-based practices, have a plan. But more importantly, it's looking through that lens of like, all right, what are our expectations? No one on this field has, you know, 8,000 square foot house, a car that can go 200 miles an hour, and too many zeros in their bank account. They're not major leaguers, right? But we can make them major league humans. And it's through how, it's that lens of what we had a play in our game where Charlie, who was a softball girl, and KK, who was a very athletic young dude, and they ran into each other, right? So KK helped Charlie up, and she got banged up decently. You know, she was tough. So I gave KK a baseball card. I go, hey, make sure when you go in there and we switch, go tell Charlie, like, dude, that was awesome. Like, way to be tough, and give her a card. You know, like teaching them how to see moments where we can uplift each other. And that's being a major league human. And if we can do that as coaches, and that's our focus, yeah, dude, all the talent, all the other stuff, that's wonderful. But if we can really teach our kids how to interact with each other in a positive, uplifting, loving way, that's the win. So our whole kind of focus was, how do we communicate better? How do we have a good practice? How do we prepare? Just kind of a lot of folks ask, like, what tricks, Coach Ballgame, how did you do that where you had 90 kids looking, and you shared that and you gave Flick Money the credit for it, because you have a lot of humility, which is another skill that we're trying to teach our kids. Like, be confident, but still kind of carry yourself with some humility and some empathy, so you can see things through other people's lenses. And those are just things that we've learned because we weren't always good at it, and we're still not great at it. But we know that those are tools that can really help you in life. So it was, the coaches clinic was incredible. I think there's something there. We talked about it, the three of us, as far as maybe putting down a curriculum on paper. I think there's a really powerful opportunity there for the three of us to kind of impact communities in a positive way by teaching a man how to fish, so to speak.
Bang. I've already started my curriculum with T-ball. Like, how do you run a season of T-ball practices? So there's no doubt there's something there. I've already had a lot of coaches around the country be like, do you have something on paper? Do you have a curriculum, some kind of online course? So with these three minds right here, not only is it the best youth coaching podcast ever, even on Saturn or Pluto, but I think there can be some great curriculum and courses where practices can be run a certain way. Flick Money, what stood out to you with all those coaches?
Well, what stood out to me, number one, is it reminded me, in spite of what I can sometimes get caught doom scrolling about how many challenges we have on planet Earth, the number of coaches that were there with their heart forward. How can I help kids better? How can I transmit more of the good stuff to young people via baseball? It just reminds me that, you know, when I put my phone down and I actually just deal with humans in my life, people are pretty amazing. America's amazing. We're chock full of kind, really, really committed, fantastic, caring humans. And that coach's clinic reminded me of that. And I need that sometimes because, man, then I don't know if you checked out a news feed lately, but it can be a little bleak.
Yeah, I try not to.
That's something I took away from that, and that was good medicine for my soul. The other thing was, we got into some conversations about difficult adults, you know, for coaches, and especially in areas, you know, it's not an accident those 5 and 6 year olds are throwing with hard balls. There's some very serious youth baseball teams, programs, coaches who are, we want to be elite. We want to take this thing to the next level. They're pushing that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being elite, but flying right behind my friend Chad Chop, we can encourage elite humanity as well, elite citizenship, elite team, being an elite teammate, sibling, daughter, right? All of it. So it's not an either or, it's a both and conversation. It needs to be a both and conversation. So when some of the coaches were sort of around the edges asking, like, what do you do with a parent who's going to hang on no matter what we set as a culture, as a team, they're going to hang on the fence, they're going to scream at their kid, they're in that mind state. How do we handle that? And that was a really good reminder for me of, just like we talked about with uh with Tank, right?
Yep.
Wasn't that your big guy?
Noah the
That
Tank.
is, yep, no, the Tank. That's a request for love. It's also their expression for love for their child. They don't want to see their child fail, so they don't want that hurt for them. So that's probably a wound in them, and the only way they think they're going to impact that is by screaming instructions onto the field. So that's one. It's an expression of love for their child. And the other one is, it's also a request for love from sort of everyone around them, that there was probably some deficiency in the way that they were raised, cared for, or not. Something happened along the way for them. And so we were just talking to those coaches, how can we bring that adult in? How can you take that passion and that desire and that love, the request for love and the expression of it, and can you pull it in? Because what happens is, and what's happening too much on our planet, if I make that human an other, if I other them, if I push them away from me and say that's the problem right there, and I push them into the other category, we're in a division situation. The energy, the mojo is going to be bad. The vibes are going to be bad, and it's going to have an impact all throughout your season. So what can we do? If it's, hey, can I buy you a beer after work? Can I sit down and have a cup of coffee with you? Let's have a conversation. Love your passion. Let's engage them. Maybe they can become an assistant coach, and your positivity can slowly over time, just like with a student or with a player that's having a hard time. So, pick your battles. Can't teach them all everything at once, but maybe one lesson per practice, or one per game, private conversation, where you engage them, get to know more about them, learn their background, learn their story. When they know you care and they trust you, then maybe the opportunities to make an impact on them as a parent and as a person are there. But first step one is pull them in. We got to pull them in. And I think that's difficult to do, because there are toxic, narcissistic personalities out there. There are abusive, bully personalities out there. And so I know it's like sort of counterintuitive to say we want to pull them in. But if you don't pull them in, we already know what the outcome of that's going to be. They're going to sit there and do the same thing. So there's no risk in trying to pull them in, making the attempt, trying to build a relationship. And so that was something that really stuck out for me, is that there are some real world challenges. I mean, we get to live in this, the three of us are having this amazing conversation. We support each other. We've seen it. We've done it thousands of times, but that's not true for everyone. All these coaches who come to these clinics, some of them, it's their first time coaching, and they got two parents, one dad on each foul line screaming at kids. And how do I even start with that? And so I have compassion for that. And step one, pull them in. I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but we got to try.
Yeah, man, that was definitely eye-opening hearing you say that. I've never really thought of it that way. Like the one fence clinger who's micromanaging and yelling at their kid from when they're in the on-deck circle, elbow up, all that stuff in the batter's box. We heard a few of those. I hear those everywhere I go, and I'm sensitive to it now because I've surrounded myself with coaches that that don't do that. So when it nudges us, and we're like, oh, ouch. I hear that overbearing parent voice, and it is very unproductive for that child right now. But I love how you don't try to change that parent's mentality in 3 hours. It's not going to happen. It's got to be a slow burn of them just getting a little drip of your vibe, of your body language, of your tone throughout. And by bringing them in and saying, hey, can you be the guy? You have so much energy. Can you show up early? Can you get the bases down? Can you help set up the field? Can you be my dugout rah-rah guy? Because you are so positive. Yeah, you're actually empowering them and giving them a voice. And then with that cup of coffee or that cold beer, you can say, hey, let's talk about why do we do these things? And that slow drip can happen. That was my favorite. Yeah. Favorite Sandlot. Go ahead.
Good, Coach. I was just going to piggyback on and just say, if their ultimate goal is winning, and having their kid be a winner and contribute more and be a great player. When you talk about the why do I do it the way I do it? We have a better chance of that child performing at the maximum level of that to their capability when they know they're cared about, when the environment is positive, when making mistakes is seen as a good thing, a part of a bigger learning process. They have a better chance of being the elite performer that that parent is hoping for if we do it. This is just what the science is telling us of how the brain performs at optimal level. So that's the why. Ultimately, when you're having that cup of coffee or that beer with them, that's the ultimate why. Is I see what you're going for here, and I want the same thing. Here's why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it, and here's the science. And if you need to quote an article or two, and for some of them and for many of us, it's going to fly in the face of the way we were raised. They're going to say, I'm sorry, that's not how I was raised. That's just not a value that I share. And then at some level, it's going to have to be then, I just am asking you to trust me on this. Just trust me, because I've done it before and I've seen it. And we'll compare notes, and I'll take feedback from you, and I'm hoping you'll be open to some feedback from me, and we'll together, maybe we can help pull these young people to a better level.
And you can,
yeah, go ahead.
You can also, like, I sympathize with, like, hey, I used to do it that way. I've tried that. I've learned from that. That's not the play. We want to get these young men and women into a positive state of mind, back in the moment, not focusing on something they just screwed up 5 seconds ago or something they're afraid to make a mistake 15 seconds from now. And that's what we've learned through our coaching experience. So it's like, if you can put your arm around and be like, dude, I've been right where you're at, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's coming from a place of love. But this is what I've learned. And I believe if you try it, I think you'll see you'll get good response. And to your point earlier, Flick Money, it's like, what's the worst that could happen? You can go back to yelling and screaming at the fence if it doesn't work, but I'm pretty confident if you trust me in this, you're going to feel better, and maybe you'll be able to get in the moment as a fan. And more importantly, your son or daughter, they're going to see the love that you have for them and the passion shown in a different way that's going to free them up.
Beautiful. I think you guys just stated the mission statement of this podcast, which is just like, I know we're flying in the face of win at all costs culture, but just trust us on this one. And if you don't trust me, then maybe you'll listen to Mookie Betts or Dave Roberts or somebody else. And so, yeah, that was my favorite Sandlot of the year. Sorry to everybody else. I love you all. But having you two there, it just made sense. And to be honest, that coaches clinic at the end, it needs to be televised. It needs to be there needs to be a show. I will be knocking on MLB Network's door to get some cameras, get some microphones, and get us to 50 different cities in 2024, where we're actually documenting the camp, but more importantly, the coaches clinic, because the conversations that come out of those things, they transcend baseball and they transcend sports. They get into the house, and I think it could clean up that news feed that's, dooming us from time to time. So Joy Buffet is the name of this episode. I don't really have anything else other than to thank my boots in Waco, Coach Felissa. Thank you. After Austin, I went to Waco, and it rained all day, but then the sun came out right when it was time to play ball. And then in Dallas, the mayor of Louisville, I was super pumped with that whole coaching staff that came out in a very highly competitive area where there's a lot of 6A high schools and wait lists of 200 kids trying to be the quarterback on a high school football team. And there was these 8 dudes from all over Dallas, and they're preaching the word, man. They're preaching the gospel of character and joy in Dallas, Texas. So Texas is turning into one of my strongest regions, as is the Chicago area. So if you boys are okay hopping on some planes in 2024, I think we should keep on doing it. What do you think?
Yeah,
I'm in.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And Coach,
yeah.
Coach, I would be remiss if I didn't say, amazing job setting all of this up, and I would like to give you a John Stamos salute,
Mm.
both for your hard work, but also for your incredible salad today. I mean, just big
Yeah.
league level salad.
Show. Yeah. Yeah.
We've got the Brad Pitt salute. We've got the John Stamos salute. We've got the Rapunzel salute, which is
I love
really
that.
long. But today,
I love the applesauce too. The applesauce,
Yeah,
big scoop
yeah.
of applesauce, ice cream.
You always get a
Double
laugh
lick on
with
the
the
ice cream.
applesauce. Always get a laugh
So
with
good.
that one. Yeah. I got Flick Money joining me in New Orleans in about 2 weeks.
No lie.
So that's happening.
The Big Easy.
The Big Easy. So we've got a backup facility, an indoor facility if we have bad weather, but weather's pretty good down in the bayou around this time of year. And then a couple weeks after that, we've got Livermore, which is in the Oakland area.
Yeah.
We'll have a day up there. So the Flick Money is joining me more and more on the road, and I kind of think Flick Money, you should be on this pod a little more. I think you
I do
should
too.
just kind of create the trifecta we had in Austin. Let's do it more of a weekly basis here. You got any pals that would come on and be guests? I'm sure you do.
Tons. Yeah. I mean, it would be an honor. What you two have put together here is amazing. I was worried that to put it bluntly, I was worried that Chad Chop and I, both left-handers, both coming with a lot of energy. You know, I have had at different points have had great facial hair. I was worried we might be the similar charged ends of a magnet. When you try to push them together, they keep pushing apart. But I will just say to you, Coach Chop, that's not what's happened at all. All I'm doing is learning from you and being ignited by your passion. And so, yeah, I'm in. Count whatever, wherever, anywhere. I'm in.
I threw you guys in the fire. I had Flikke pick up Chopper at the Austin airport.
Loved it.
And it was either it was going to combust, or it was going to be a bro fest.
I loved it. Yeah. What this did for me, aside from all the obvious, and like I said, Coach Ballgame, I've been mesmerized by how you coach from the day I met you in Tustin. So it's like, that's a really cool moment. You know what Flick Money brings. I just got to learn it. So like from the first second, when I saw him and he put his hand out that amazing Kia Soul, it was just, I'm incredibly impressed by Flick Money too. So I like how God does that. He puts cool people in your life, and it's people that we can all learn from, and it's iron sharpening iron. But Flick Money, dude, I blown away by you. It was really, really cool. So I can't wait to see kind of where all of our relationship goes and how many lives we can impact in a positive way. I got home from that thing and I should have been exhausted because I was coming off a little bit of a sickness. It was a 24-hour deal. I was up at 4:45 my time. And I got home just like, dude, that was unbelievable. We all love Jeff Bridges. So there's a lot of just like-mindedness that goes on. So yeah, I cannot wait to see where this thing goes. I do think we're going to see a lot of cities in 2024. I do believe that a coach's clinic is going to be an incredibly powerful tool for us to kind of spread our message and impact. So now I'm blown away, dude. I can't wait. Flick, you're always welcome on this pod, dude. It's a blessing, dude. You're awesome.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Appreciate you.
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, I know the listeners, especially our boots on the ground and patrons all over, you're going to enjoy this one. And there'll be many, many more of these kind of episodes with Flick Money dropping in. And yeah, me and Chopper, we are sending text messages out to former pros, current pros, managers, coaches, and we'll keep bringing the guests on. But today I just wanted to recap Texas, baby. It was so good. It was a joy buffet for me, and the barbecue after the Sandlot, holy snot.
Shout out to the Salt Lick. Yeah.
Give me some brisket.
Woo!
Yeah.
Chopper, anything to close up shop today? What do you got, buddy?
No, I appreciate you both. Don't forget to rate to all our listeners, random act of kindness
every day.
Let's have a great week.
Flick Money, anything?
I am totally full at the Joy Buffet. Satiated.
Bang.